ordered her 10,000 National Guard troop, anything she wanted. No, but she didn't take them. She should have taken them, and you wouldn't have had you wouldn't have had.
Protect the Capitol from what? This is the funniest argument because there is nothing consistent. Like, you cannot, it just straight up doesn't make sense. Why would the Capitol need protection if it was a peace-loving day? A day of love. What the fuck is wrong with this audio? Hold on. Let me fix it. Okay, I made it mono.
So I had a very nice call with him. He called me up yesterday morning. We talked. I congratulated him on obviously doing a very good job keeping Israel safe. He's doing very well. He calls me on occasion. I think he wants my views on things. He's had very little cooperation from the White House, as you know. They didn't want him to do anything, and they would not be in the good position they're in right now if they listened to the White House, which I guess would be a combination of Kamala and Joe. They're not happy about that either, I will tell you. Israel's not happy about that. But we had a very good talk. It lasted for a while. I know him very well. And he'll call me on occasion. I haven't called him, no. He did. He told me that he was attacked at his village where he lives, a vacation area, and that he was attacked, but he was fine.
Do you think Iraq should counterattack Iran?
Well, we'll see what happens. He was asking what I thought, and I just said, you do what you have to do. So I said, you do what you have to do.
President Trump, do you want to see Nikki Haley on the campaign trail with you?
I think she is going to be. She's supported me, and you know, we had a great primary. It was an unbelievable primary. It was the fastest anyone's ever gone, and it was by the most votes that anyone's ever had. And she wanted to join me, and I said, absolutely, I'd love to have. I want everybody's support. Well, you know, it's interesting. When I was at the Catholic dinner, the Al Smith dinner, the other night, it was very interesting. People from Lebanon came to see me, very religious people. And they said, please tell Israel not to stop. I was surprised. These were people that live in Lebanon. They have had a lot of problems with the people that were being killed. So I thought it would be the opposite. Please tell them to stop. They said, please let them continue. They actually, these are people that lived in Lebanon, very important people. So, look, here's the story. Ready? I'm going for a job right now at McDonald's. I really wanted to do this.
Mr. President, welcome.
Thank you.
Now we know what he was talking about with the fucking editing on the CBS interview, I guess.
You've spoken out about the unethical editing of the Kamala Harris interview by 60 Minutes.
Terrible.
But you go a step further and you say CBS should lose its license. Why?
Sure. Well, I've never seen anything like it. She gave a horrible, incompetent answer on a news program. It's not an entertainment program. They call it news. They say it's a #1 news program. And so she gives an answer that shows that she's dumb or incompetent or something wrong with her. It's so bad that the people at CBS say, we're not going to do a little editing, like the word the, make it there, something. You understand? They take the whole ridiculous answer out, and it was a long answer, and replace it with a much shorter answer that she did having to do with a totally different subject, which also didn't make sense, but it wasn't as incompetent.
The head of
they
the
don't
FCC,
do that with me.
The head of the FCC says we would never yank a license
really?
Because a politician didn't like his or her coverage.
Well, this isn't a politician. This is nothing. Wait a minute. She gave an answer. They took the answer.
I said I've been critical of it.
Listen to this. They took, just for your audience, you know about it.
All right.
They took the answer out in its entirety and they put a completely different answer in that makes her look like she's normal, okay, which is about the best you're going to do. And I said, I think it's the worst thing she's done. Now, what we're doing is we're going to subpoena their records because we want to see how much else did she do. And I can tell you, I've done 60 Minutes many times, and they do with me different. They take sentences out. In other words, I'm more honored by that. But I'll have a paragraph that is a great paragraph, and they'll make it less good by just taking things out. But that's different. That you can sort of say they want to make the program shorter. You know, they always say, well, we want to shorten it up. They take a great paragraph and, you know, they make it okay. But
what is the controversy about 60 Minutes interview? 60 Minutes condensed Kamala Harris's word salad answers. And had the longer version running. Like had the longer version run basically ahead of like the condensed version. So he's making a bigger deal out of it. So technically it's one of those things where it's like it's not wrong. What he's saying is actually true. But it's not like overall it's not that big of a fucking deal. Like they do it all the time, which is ironic because he's also explaining how they do it all the time in the process of shitting on CBS for doing it. We watched the 60 Minutes interview on the stream.
But with her, I never knew anyone would do this. They took the whole thing out and they put a whole new thing in. I've never seen anything. I think it's the biggest scandal I've ever seen for a broadcaster.
It's the biggest scandal.
No, I think 60 Minutes, I think it should be taken off the air, frankly.
You posted this.
And by the way, 60 Minutes, they also, when I had an argument with Leslie Stone, now very famous, about the laptop, she said it was Russia, but I never got an apology.
You posted the following. Kamala should be investigated and forced off the campaign, and Joe Biden allowed to take back his rightful place. Investigated for what?
Well, it depends what you're talking about. Are you talking about 60 Minutes?
No, these are your words, so I'm asking you.
Let me tell you. They should look into it. Investigate. I'm investigated all the time. I'm the most investigated human being in history. They should investigate her. Look, on 60 Minutes, they...
That's so funny. That like the Fox News guy's like, it's your words, Mr. President. What did you mean? He's like, come on. Investigate it for anything. I'm investigated all the time.
They say it was her campaign that forced them to do that. So certainly that should be investigated.
It sounds like you missed Joe Biden.
No, I think Joe Biden was... I'm not a fan of Joe Biden. And I think he might have done better than her. I mean, if you take a look at the polls now, I mean, I can't tell you exactly, but it looks like I'm winning and winning pretty easily, but we'll see. You have to get out the vote. But no, I think what they did to Joe Biden was a threat to democracy.
This made being a fan of you much harder, and you decided to do this in the week of relentless attacks against you. The optics are undeniably bad. Brother, why did you do that? I can imagine a state of mind that you must be in to actually shave your beard. How am I supposed to treat your nuanced analysis seriously when it comes from a baby face? How am I supposed to use your content as an alternative for right-leaning framing of global issues? This made being a fan of you much harder, and you decided to do this during a week of relentless attacks against you. The optics are undeniably bad. Everyone needs to calm down, okay? My beard grows back in literally 2 days. And yes, I shaved because I needed to look more white. Okay, I'm getting a lot of relentless attacks as an Islamist fundamentalist extremist.
because she did so badly. All of a sudden, she's running. So I'm not saying from my standpoint. I'm saying from his standpoint. He's a very angry man. In fact, I think he probably likes me more than he likes her, but he's a very angry man right now.
Let me ask you about Joe Scarborough, because on Bill Maher's show, he said his people, meaning your people, have said they're going to arrest my producers.
Oh, nobody said that. Look, Joe's a sick puppy. I know him well.
He's a sick puppy. Nobody's going to do that. He's literally talking. This conversation started with him straight up saying that he is going to revoke the licenses of television networks that he perceives as biased against him. Okay. Now, yes, Joe Scarborough is exaggerating. Why the fuck would they ever? Why would they ever arrest Joe Scarborough or his producers? Joe Scarborough is incredibly fucking conservative. Joe Scarborough, ironically, is one of the last fucking people that would be arrested in a situation like this. Unless I was president. Where I definitely would arrest them.
I used him
used to be
beautifully.
friends.
I dropped him because I thought he was very unethical, actually. But I dropped him. But I used him for 2016, and I do it from my apartment. I wouldn't even have to go in. I'd do phone calls, and I did them almost sometimes on a daily basis.
Why do you say that?
And then everyone's because I watch him and what he says about me. What he says is so bad. And you have to understand. Now, I was friendly with him and with Mika, but at a certain point, and it doesn't matter why, but I didn't want to do it anymore with them. And they're not too happy about it. No, but he says a lot of things like that. I think they're unethical, but who knows?
I want to drill down on this question of retribution because against your political opponents, because you've had opportunities to walk that back. And my question is this: are you prepared to say now that you will not use law enforcement to punish or prosecute?
Trump is such a pussy, dude. He literally said he was going to lock Hillary Clinton up and then never did. And even now, he's just like lying about how he's like, oh, I never even did lawfare against Hillary Clinton. It's like, yeah, you were a bitch for that. Like, that's why I voted for you illegally, dude. What the fuck? You're a bitch for that, for real. Dumbass.
Your political opponents.
Excuse me. That's what they're using on me.
Okay, so your stance is that they started it.
Before you start this.
Yeah, I got it.
Howie, that's what they're using on me. I've got DAs. I've got everybody. They look at me. There's never been anything like this. The biggest case was the one down in Florida, and I beat it 100%. I won the case because we had number one, a brilliant judge, and a judge that moved rather rapidly, and I won the case. By the way, Biden had almost the same case, but he didn't have the Presidential Records Act because he wasn't the president. Just to finish. And he got off on the basis that he's incompetent to say.
He didn't, by the way.
That he's incompetent. And it was a strange ruling because they said, number one, he's incompetent, so he's not going to be. But the prosecutor actually said he's guilty, but he's incompetent. But they didn't say he couldn't be president anymore. That was his bigger problem for not being president. How can you not represent yourself in court because you're incompetent, but you're allowed to represent the United States of America? The whole thing is crazy. But no, they have weaponized government against me.
But are you willing to use the same tactics?
No, I don't want to do that because that's a bad thing for the country. I don't want to do that. I don't know who said. I haven't said that I would, but they have done it. I've got.
This motherfucker verbatim said, we have enemies amongst our ranks, the left, and that they need to be dealt with. Maybe the National Guard, maybe federal law enforcement, or maybe just the police. But they have to be dealt with. The enemy within our gates. The enemy within. That is like I paraphrased it a little bit, but almost verbatim. Okay? Like that wasn't, like he said that. It's like, what the fuck do you mean? Now he's like, oh, I didn't say it. I don't know where it's coming from. And it's like, no, you did, actually. Another straight Hitlerian moment for him, by the way. Yeah. Trump urges using military to handle radical left lunatics on election day.
Are you expecting chaos on election day?
No, I don't think so. Not from the
Well, it's not even this one.
side
This is
that
the
votes for Trump.
Oh, it is.
But I'm just wondering if these outside agitators will start up on election day. Let's say you win. I mean, let's remember you've got 50,000 Chinese nationals in this country in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
You've got people on the terrorist watch list, 350 in the last couple of years. You've got, like you said, 13,000 murderers and 15,000 rapists.
Right.
What are you expecting? Joe Biden said he doesn't think it's going to be a peaceful election day.
Well, he doesn't have any idea what's happening in all fairness. He spends most of his day sleeping. I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within, not even the people that have come in and destroying our country. By the way, totally destroying our country. The towns, the villages, they're being inundated. But I don't think they're the problem in terms of election day. I think the bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military, because they can't let that happen.
I love you more, but I...
That's it, bro. Fuck you mean? Verbatim. Verbatim. He said, I'm going to stick the military on the left. And now he's like, I don't know where that came from. Who said it? I don't know. Must have been a handsome guy, whoever said it. Not me. But another handsome man. You might think it's me because he's so handsome when he said those words, but it wasn't me.
Attorney generals, DAs, they're all
Right.
You take a look in Atlanta.
You're heavily investigated. Yeah.
They
with
went
Fani
and
Willis.
met with them. It's all coming out of the Justice Department. They have done something never done in this country before. Now, it's been done in a lot of other countries, third world countries, banana republics, but never done. So when you ask that question, you really have to start by saying, well, they've done it to you. No, I'm not looking to do it to them at all, because that is they have set a very bad precedent, however.
You talk about the enemy within. There's enemies, America's enemies outside. The enemy within is a pretty ominous phrase if you're talking about other
I
Americans.
think it's accurate. I mean, I think it's accurate.
Who are you talking about? Who's
And,
the enemy?
you know, I heard that. They say, oh, the enemy. On the outside, you have Russia, you have China, you have a lot of different groups. If you have a smart president, they can be easily handled. I handled them. We had no wars. We had no wars. The only thing I had was ISIS, and I defeated them in like record time. They were gone. But I started no wars. The outside people, the so-called enemies, if they're enemies, and they might not be enemies, if you have a smart president, they can be handled. But when you have people investigating my campaign, when you have people, you know, they spied on my campaign now. You understand that. That's been proven. But they spy on your campaign. The Russia hoax was all made up, and now it's acknowledged that it was made up. All of these different things. You have the 51 different agents saying it was from Russia, and now they all say it wasn't from Russia. Okay, so we were lying. Many other things, many. I could go. You just don't have enough time. But what they've done is so terrible. Who's ever heard of anything like this? Adam Shifty Schiff, he's a crooked guy. He's a crooked politician, 100%. And he's going to be a senator now. Can you believe it?
But again, he's a political opponent of yours.
He's
but
not.
Is he
No,
an enemy?
No, he's a. Well, of course, he's an enemy. He's an enemy. He wanted to put my son in jail, And my son didn't even know what he was talking about. He wanted to put my son in jail on a scam that he made up called Russia, Russia, Russia. He, Hillary Clinton, and a group of people made up a scam. And they came out of a room and they said, Donald Trump Jr. will be going to jail over this. And my son called me and said, what did I
Not Donald Trump Jr. Oh, man. That's my favorite of the Trump children.
do? He knew nothing about Russia. It had nothing to do with him. Think of how bad you have to be when you say you're going to put any son, not just, a president's son, but any son, you're going to put somebody in jail on a scam that you knew was made up by you. That's an enemy from within. That is a threat to democracy. These are bad people. We have a lot of bad people. But when you look at Shifty Schiff and some of the others, yeah, they are, to me, the enemy from within. I think Nancy Pelosi is an enemy from within. She lied. She was supposed to protect the Capitol. She said that to her daughter just recently. It was found on the tape from her daughter, who's a documentary maker. She said, this is my responsibility. She admitted it. But I offered her 10,000 National Guard troop, anything she wanted. No, but she didn't take them. She should have taken them. And you wouldn't have had, you wouldn't have had.
Protect the Capitol from what? This is the funniest argument because there is nothing consistent. Like, you cannot, it just straight up doesn't make sense. Why would the Capitol need protection if it was a peace-loving day? A day of love? It doesn't make sense.
January 6th, as we know it.
Well, just
By the way, if she took 500 people, you wouldn't have had it, let alone 10,000.
Sure. So you actually give me a segue into my next question. I do have to say for the record that the spying accusation is in dispute. I know you don't believe that.
What accusation?
The spying accusation. But
I don't think it's in.
What's the deal with the Russia stuff? Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of different parts of this Russia shit. But yes, Russia absolutely tapped into the Trump campaign. And the Trump campaign was dumb enough to not only collaborate, but also quite literally do it openly. Specifically, what was it? Was it Mike Papadopoulos or whatever? Who bragged about it too. He was like, yo, dude, a bunch of Russian people said that they have dirt on my fucking, on hello, I am Mike Slopadopoulos. Or whatever the fuck the guy's name was. Not George Slopadopoulos. No, it's not Paul Manafort. It was the guy with the Greek last name. Anyway, he just straight up was like, what was the dude's name? He was like a low-level guy on the campaign, but he was stupid enough. Okay. Not a single person has actually said the name correctly. Oh, it was George Papadopoulos. Okay, so that last name wasn't incorrect. All right, so George Papadopoulos is caught talking to, at a bar to a bunch of Australian nationals, flexing on them, saying, I have dirt on the fucking Clinton campaign that a bunch of Russians gave me. That was the red flag that understandably caused the intelligence agencies to go, what the fuck do you mean? So they conducted an investigation to see if Russia was actually trying to directly work with the Trump campaign. They found plenty of evidence that, yes, in that process, there were a lot of foreign nationals that were absolutely trying to collaborate with the Trump campaign. Ultimately, the most significant aspects of this collusion did not even occur directly with a relationship with the Trump campaign and Russia. It happened with dumbass Facebook ads that they took out or fake groups that they created. not a lot of money spent in that direction, and it wasn't as consequential as the way the media presented it as, but it doesn't matter. And ultimately, it was, you know, silly shit that the American liberals greatly exaggerated in an effort to say, oh, Russia's the reason why Hillary Clinton lost, and that like Russia's in the pocket for Trump, and that Trump is having gay sex with Vladimir Putin over and over again. They literally pointed to fucking Russia and Russian involvement for every damn thing. A lot of liberals lost their minds. A lot of Blue Anon lost their fucking minds in that process. The irony, of course, is that Israel was doing a shit ton more than Russia ever could even dare to dream in terms of election interference, but that's neither here nor there. The thing is, it was just found out that it was a much bigger deal than previously known, though, bro. No matter how big of a deal it is, it wasn't to the same degree or nowhere near the same severity. Come on, dude. Every single thing that Donald Trump did, Rachel Maddow would go on television and be like, it's because of Russia. Like, that's crazy. They were like, oh, Trump won because of Russia. No, it was a way to abdicate responsibility away from the fucking dog shit campaign that Hillary Clinton ran and the dog shit decisions that the DNC made in terms of putting up a very fucking unpopular, like overwhelmingly unpopular presidential candidate. If you are the most powerful nation on the planet, if you're the most powerful nation on the planet, and your democracy is so fickle that it could be undermined by like a couple $1 million of ad campaigns that is like hyper targeted towards some of the silliest fucking supporters of Donald Trump out there, then we do not have a democracy at all. We have the most fragile fucking nation on the planet. If Hillary Clinton ran a normal campaign, this marginal change in the attitudes in certain swing states would not even be effective. Now, the other part of the problem is that Kamala Harris is kind of doing a repeat of this right now in terms of like running to the middle as hard as possible and just kind of, I don't know, presenting herself as like someone who is very close to Joe Biden when Americans are like, I hate Joe Biden. We were excited that you're not Joe Biden. The most consequential aspect, in my opinion, like the most singular consequential aspect also did not come from Russia. It came from fucking James Comey. When he reopened the Hillary Clinton investigation with that letter 3 days before the election. It was one of the most insane things I've ever seen. And the funniest part about it is liberals considered him to be a hero after the fact. He just dog fucked them, okay? It was insane. That was straight up more consequential for the election than anything else.
Shake it the
What is this? Watch a chicken rant?
fuck up. And then I'm going to let it marinate. Usually I let it marinate for like at least an hour. I like to let it sit in its own juices. Get the marinade and the spices acquainted with the chicken, right? You know? Let it have time to get to know one another and ask each other if they're going to vote for Joe Biden after years and years and years of Democratic incompetence. Like, are they still going to fucking let go of all their principles and vote for Joe Biden? Why? Because obviously there's no third-party alternative. What the fuck am I going to do? Vote for Howie Hughes or Gloria Riva at the PSL? Obviously not. That's literally throwing your vote away and giving a false sense of hope to some random crank usually. Oh, I know a lot of tankies are going to get mad at me, but I'm still talking about the chicken and the experience that the chicken is having with the fucking sauce that I'm mixing the chicken with, okay? The chicken and the sauce get acquainted and they learn about each other's politics, and before you know it, the sauce is radicalizing the chicken, and the chicken is feeling like you know, maybe Medicare for all could happen. Maybe Medicare for all could happen. Why can't we have Medicare for all? I mean, all these other comparable nations, all these other OECD nations have Medicare for all, right? That's what the chicken is saying to the sauce when they get acquainted with one another in the fucking fridge. Anyway, so yeah, you take the cap off, put it right on there neatly, make sure that it's airtight, and then put it right in the fridge. Shake it the fuck.
My guy, so many other meats out there, so many tasty meats. Yeah, except this is the most like high protein one.
In dispute, Obama and Biden spied on my campaign. It was a long time ago. We're talking about the previous campaign. Maybe they're doing this campaign too, but so far it doesn't seem to be working.
We were using boom bikes at his request. Just to clarify, 60 Minutes showed a promo clip of Vice President Harris giving one answer to a question on another show and then broadcast a different answer to the same question. Nancy Pelosi says she never received a National Guard offer from Trump on January 6th, though he was involved in some National Guard.
This is so cowardly. The New York Times does this shit too. It's like, bro, bring that up in the conversation. The New York Times did this with the interview that they conducted with JD Vance, where they just like spent the last 10 minutes being like, here's all of the things that JD Vance just straight up lied to our face about. And it's like, dog, your job is to literally address it in the moment. Like, it's so annoying. Like, the reason why they do this is so that they don't get, like, in trouble, I guess, but...
Our discussions in earlier days. When we come back, Donald Trump on the January 6th...
Jesus, take the wheel. Would you ever have Quinlan Blackwell on stream? I may or may not be her commenting this right now, lol. Okay, I don't think you are her, because I have asked her to come on stream. Problem is, I need, like, a... fucking long ass time frame. Like I need to get it ready ahead of time, because she always is like taking time off on the weekend, stuff like that. So yeah.
And harsh criticism from two former generals he fired, and later Brett Baer on his interview with Kamala Harris.
Hey, it's Will Kane. Click here to subscribe.